Sometimes the scariest part of a story isn't what you see, it's what you recognize. You ever had that feeling when you see someone, you know someone you love, but something deep inside tells you it isn't really them? Tonight's story is about that feeling, about a delivery driver who thought he was just dropping off a pizza and found something waiting behind that door that should have been impossible. A story of doubles, of reflection, and of what happens when you can't tell which life is the copy. This is The Copies. The rain was relentless, hammering against the windshield in thick sheets, each drop illuminated by the glow of the dashboard. The wipers struggled to keep up. I had one hand on the steering wheel, the other balancing a pizza box across my thigh. It wasn't from a restaurant. It came from one of those new vending machines everyone was talking about. You order through an app, the machine preps and boxes the pizza automatically, and you just pick it up. It was supposed to be the future of food. It smelled fine, cheesy hot, and weirdly metallic underneath. When I hit a speed bump, I didn't see through the rain. The box jolted and slid. One slice slipped out, landing face down across my leg. I cursed, pulling the car over to fix it. My shirt was covered in red. At first, I thought it was sauce, but the smell wasn't right. It wasn't garlic or tomato. It was sweet, sharp, almost copper-like. It made my stomach twist. I picked up the slice carefully by the crust. It looked perfect, not a single patch of sauce missing. I wiped my hand on the seat, slid the slice back into the box, closed it, and told myself it was fine. The house was easy to find, a small two-story on a quiet street. A porch light glowed dimly through the rain. I grabbed the box and jogged up the path, trying to keep it dry. When the door opened, I froze. A little girl stood there, about 7 years old. Wet hair tied into uneven pigtails, pink hoodie covered in doodles from a black marker. She had one missing front tooth. My arms went slack. It was my sister. She tilted her head, gave a polite smile, and said softly, "Thank you." Then she took the pizza, turned around, and shut the door. I just stood there in the rain, staring at the closed door, feeling my heart beat in my throat. That was her. Not someone who looked like her, it was her. Same chipped nail polish on her fingers. Same way she rocked forward on her toes before closing the door. It couldn't be. I stumbled back to the car, got in, and sat there shaking. My hands left red smears on the wheel. My mind tried to explain it away. A coincidence. Maybe a neighbor's kid. A trick of the light. But deep down, I already knew better. I couldn't stop staring at that house through the rain. My head was spinning. I called my mom. No answer. I called again. Still nothing. The house looked warm inside, yellow light glowing faintly through the fogged windows. I don't know what came over me. Curiosity, panic, something primal. I stepped out into the rain again and walked along the hedge until I found a window with a gap in the curtain. My shoes squelched with every step. The water soaked through my jeans. I leaned in. Through the blur of condensation, I saw her again, my sister sitting cross-legged on the floor, flipping through a picture book. At the kitchen table sat my father reading a newspaper, glasses slipping down his nose. Across from him, my mom was scrolling on her phone, her face lit by the screen. It wasn't just a resemblance. It was them. Our family dog, the one that ran away months ago, was lying under the table. I pressed my hand against the glass. My breath fogged the window. That was my family in that house. And then something slammed against the glass so hard, I nearly fell backward. The dog growling teeth, bared eyes, locked on me. I stumbled away and ran slipping through mud and grass until I reached my car. When I finally got home, my parents' car was already in the driveway. Lights off, curtains drawn. I stepped inside. Everything was quiet. My dad's shoes were by the door. My mom's purse hung on the hook. My sister's backpack was dumped near the couch. For a moment, I thought I'd lost my mind. They were home. All of them. I peeked into the hallway. The bedroom door was cracked open. I saw the outline of my father lying on his side, my mom next to him. My sister's tiny figure curled up on her own bed down the hall. I should have felt relief, but I didn't. I felt wrong. It was like reality had a glitch, like I was standing on two versions of the same night overlapping each other. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that house. Saw her smile. Saw the dog slam against the glass. By 4:30, I was sitting on the edge of the bed, still wearing my wet clothes. I whispered to myself, I need to see it again. And I left. I parked across the street from the house, just as the sky started to lighten. The rain had stopped, leaving the air heavy and still. I waited. Hours passed. The porch light flicked off. Then the door opened. My mom stepped out, first coat over her arm, searching her purse for keys. My sister followed behind, in her school uniform, the exact same one she'd worn yesterday. They got into the car and drove off. I followed. They didn't notice me. I kept two cars back the whole time. They pulled into West Grove Elementary, my sister's actual school. I recognized the tiger mascot painted on the wall. I parked across the street and watched as they walked up to the entrance together, my sister skipping at the edge of the sidewalk. They laughed about something. I sat there gripping the wheel so tight, my knuckles hurt. It was too perfect. I needed answers. I got out and crossed the street. The security officer didn't stop me. I walked straight to the front desk. The woman sitting there looked up and smiled until she saw my shirt still stained faintly red. "Can I help you?" she asked carefully. "I'm looking for my mom and sister. They just came in." She frowned. "What's their name?" I told her. Her expression didn't change, but she tilted her head slightly. "I think you're mistaken. There's no one here by that name." I turned around. Through the glass doors, I saw them walking down the hall, my mom guiding my sister by the hand. "Right there," I shouted, pointing. When I looked back at the receptionist, her face had gone pale. "Sir," she said slowly, "you need to calm down." I stumbled out of the building, shaking. Outside, their car was already gone. I followed them again that afternoon. They drove straight back to the same house. I parked half a block down and waited until sunset. By the time their lights flicked off, my hands were trembling. I don't remember deciding to do it, only that suddenly I was standing behind their house with a rock in my hand. The window shattered easily. I climbed through, cutting my arm on the way in. The smell hit me first, dust, old wood, and something else. Something faintly sour, like damp carpet mixed with iron. The dog was there again, standing in the hallway, growling, tail stiff. "Hey," I whispered. "It's me." She barked, lunged. Her teeth sank into my arm before I could react. I slammed her sideways into the wall. She yelped, went still. I dropped to my knees, panting. When I looked up, I saw the family photos on the wall. Ours, the same exact ones, same frames, same years carved into the bottom. Everything in the house was a replica, even the smell of my mother's perfume lingering faintly in the bedroom. Inside one drawer, I found a revolver wrapped in a towel and a box of bullets underneath. I loaded 6 rounds, sat down on the couch, and waited. The house was silent except for the ticking of a clock. Headlights swept across the window hours later. I raised the gun but didn't move. The front door opened. Laughter. The kind of casual warmth that used to make me feel safe. Then silence. They saw the dog lying still on the floor. My mom gasped. My sister screamed. I stepped out of the shadows. "Who are you?" I said. They froze. My dad slowly raised his hands. My mom didn't move. My sister pressed herself against the wall. "Who are you?" I repeated. But when they spoke, it came out at the same time as me. The exact same words, same tone. "Who are you?" I tightened my grip on the gun. "You're not them," I said. "You can't be." I tossed a roll of duct tape onto the floor. "Tie your wrists, all of you." My dad hesitated, then did as I said. He spoke softly, trying to calm me down, saying everything would be fine. When he finished, I taped his own wrists myself. "You're coming with me," I said. "We're going to see the real ones." They didn't argue. I marched them outside in the rain, shoved them into my car, and drove. When we pulled into my driveway, every light in my house was off. The world felt dead quiet. I led them down the hall to the master bedroom. "They're in there," I said. "The real ones. You'll see." I pushed the door open with the barrel of the gun. The air was warm, thick. Then I saw it. The sheets soaked in dried red. The smell hit a second later, sharp and metallic. My parents, my sister, all of them, still. Behind me, I heard a sound, a strangled noise, halfway between a cry and a whisper. "Why?" the man said. "Why are you showing me this?" I didn't answer. I turned, aimed, and fired. He dropped instantly. I walked outside. The rain had started again, thin and steady. The streetlight reflected off the puddles. The world looked unreal, like a photograph that had been left out in the dark too long. I stood by the car. My mom sat motionless in the back seat, mouth taped shut, eyes wide. My sister was beside her, trembling. They'd seen everything. I opened the driver's door. My mom shook her head, slowly pleading with her eyes. I raised the gun. The shot shattered the silence. Her body went still, blood streaking down the window. My sister screamed behind the tape. I walked around to her side, opened the door. She tried to speak, to beg, but I couldn't let her. I fired twice. The sound echoed down the street and faded into the rain. When it was over, I stood there shaking my arm heavy, my chest hollow. I went back inside and sat on the couch. The revolver clattered against the table. The copper smell of blood filled the air. Far off, I heard sirens. They were coming. I looked at the revolver again. 1 bullet left. Maybe the worst thing about seeing your own family's faces in someone else's house is realizing you might be the one who doesn't belong. The doctors said he imagined it. The police said he broke under stress. But late at night, neighbors still see the lights on inside that other house, the one he swore was full of copies. And sometimes they say they can hear laughter from the living room. A man's voice, a woman's, and a little girl reading a bedtime story, word for word, just like the night it all began. Thank you for listening. This was the Copies and NightLore original. If you enjoyed the story, leave a comment, share your thoughts, and remember, not every reflection is yours.